Welcome to this episode of Truth Seekers, where His Grace Bishop Emilianos of Maloa will answer questions sent in by the youth with a member of the youth.
Hello George, thanks for coming here today. Would you like to tell us a few things about yourself?
Thank you for having me, Yeronda. My name's George. I'm 31 years old and I sell homes in Brisbane. I've been coming to church a little bit later, probably a couple of years.
Okay, I have a question for you. And the question is, am I really a true Christian? Not me, but so are you really a true Christian?
Well, it depends who's asking that, because if it was somebody from my work, or I'd say, yes, I am a true Christian, but when the bishop asks me, I feel like I try, but I'm constantly struggling with feeling like I'm making any progress. Is that a normal feeling?
Sometimes it's good to feel like that, because if you feel that you are making progress, you will get proud, or you can all sort of things. But let's see the question a little bit differently. Don't answer for yourself, but tell me, what do you think it is to be a true Christian in general?
What I found really interesting was a sermon from our priest at St. George, Father D, where he said, a wild dog loves his pups. So anyone can love their friends and their family. You know, you'll find some of the nastiest people love their children to bits. But Christ came and turned that upside down and said, love your neighbour and love your enemies. So that's saying to me, well, to love your enemies is the hardest thing, because everyone can love the people they love and their family. So that's very difficult. You know, we read books and hear stories about people being hurt, and you think, oh, I could handle that and forgive that person if it happened to me. And then something happens to you and you fly off the handle and you feel like a horrible Christian straight after. So it's, he turned everything upside down, Christ, when he came and said, love your enemies. And so that's something I try and remember. It's the easy, good times where everything's smooth sailing. It's very easy to be a good Christian. But it's when you're put in a situation, or even just groups of friends, you know, like I feel like, you know, I try to attend church. I'm sitting there at, you know, having a meal with friends after church, and, you know, it's like I'm a great Christian, you know, we're not swearing and we're having a nice meal, and we just had a wonderful 2 hours at church. And then there's other friends I'll hang out with, and, you know, you're in the car heading to the coast and you're thinking nothing that I have said in this car drive is the slightest bit Christian. So you're rocked between two worlds. So am I a true Christian? 10 minutes of the day maybe, while I'm asleep.
So if you, just because you mentioned it, you said that Christ tells us to love our enemies. If you were to give a definition of who is your enemy, what would you say? Who is our enemy?
That's a question I've thought about lots, and I struggle to answer it because I feel like you can always get given a bigger serve of trouble. You know, your enemy can be the guy at the traffic lights that cut you in and cut in front of you, and you're swearing and he's swearing back, and in that moment they're your enemy. You're really riled up, they've just cut you off, and they're abusing you as well. It's like, it's quite hard to think, okay, love your enemy, you know, and stay calm in the car. That's an example. So you're faced with things like that weekly.
Yes. What I wanted to say is that to be a true Christian, it basically means that we have to be like Christ. We have to be the way that God created us, for the purpose that God created us. So we are created in the image and likeness of the Holy Trinity. We have to act like this for the purpose we are created, But if to act like this, to act like Christ, it means that we have understanding like Christ as well. So we have to understand what we are in order to truly be what we understand and what we are. And what do I mean by that? I mean that for the simple example that you said, that Christ said, love your enemies. The way you understand someone as your enemy and the way Christ would understand this person, they are two different things. So Christ, if you were to ask him, do you love the person, if Christ was here today now, do you love the person who cuts you in at the traffic lights? He will tell you, why not? And then you might ask, but look what he does. And then he might tell you, but do you know who he is and why he does what he does?
Sure.
So understanding the other person, even if you consider him to be your enemy, makes you feel for him. And then again, there might be cases that the person that is considered to be your enemy is just out of the wrong reasons. So there is no excuse for his actions. But then I guess what would Christ have done in this case would have been, instead of being upset, like being angry with them, be really sad for them because they don't understand what they're doing. And that's what Christ said at the end on the cross. Father, forgive them because they do not understand what they're doing.
True.
But Christ said that because he was understanding what he was doing and he was understanding what they were doing. So when you see that your enemy basically has a spiritually suicidal approach for himself, so people that they were killing Christ, they're committing a spiritual suicide for themselves. So you can't really be their enemy. They might consider themselves your enemies, but you don't consider yourself their enemy. And that's why Christ sacrificed himself for his enemies, for us all. There are times in your life, as you said, we might be Christians 10 minutes a day, and basically the rest of the day we act as if we are Christ's enemies. But he doesn't see us as such, because he understands. So I guess becoming a true Christian means to become one with Christ, to become one with God, one with the Holy Trinity, to be able to understand God, understand ourselves, and understand others. And then the qualities that God has, the qualities that Christ had as a human person, they are given to us. And we can act like him, we can understand like him, and we can help people understand and act like him. What do you think?
When you said about the helping others, what would you say about the people that are looking to become better people? Because we know that Christ came and he hung out with the lepers and the tax collectors and the people that were a mess back then.
Yes.
Are we meant to be around those people and try and help? You know, it's a fine line between, okay, I want to stay away from these people, they're no good, or, you know what, I'm going to become closer with these people. What would you say about trying to help?
So let's say that we have two examples. Yourself trying to help these people and Christ trying to help these people. Who could help them more? Yourself or Christ?
Christ.
If yourself you become like Christ, you can help them more. So if your focus would be to become like Christ, to become one with Christ, then you can help them more. In the meantime, you have to see, if you were to help them, how much this might take away from you the opportunity to become like Christ.
Understand.
Because if your strength is not enough to help them, if you don't save yourself, you haven't helped them and you destroy your spiritual life. So the more you become like Christ, the more you can help them.
Sure.
And everything in between, you will have to be the judge with the help of your spiritual father. Otherwise, you won't help them and you will lose your soul.
I understand. Back with the question, am I a true Christian? If I was given a cancer diagnosis and I was given 6 months to live, I would be living a very different life to how I'm living now. You know, I know that when you're having fun and life's going well, and we can see it now with society, we forget about God. And then tribulation comes, and you don't even have to be religious to think that. If it was all coming to an end, you know, in a month for you, you can call it spiritual or just life, you would change dramatically, which is a spiritual change.
So the question here is what happens when we are afraid and what happens when we love. And I will explain what I mean. Fear can drive you closer to God because you're afraid. But you're afraid that you might not have enough time. But you're afraid that you might not have enough time because you don't love God enough. Because if you did, you would have not been afraid of Him, you would have not been afraid of death, and you would have done your best as if you died today, every day, out of love.
Yes.
So inside you, you have to replace fear with love. And if you do that, you won't expect your death to do your best. You will do it yesterday.
Yes.
And that's it.
But yesterday you were having too much fun to think about God.
Yeah.
And we find ourselves doing that all the time. It's like we're too busy, and, you know, church or Christ, or that's an hour a week. How do we work on that?
It's your personal prayers. If you keep praying, you will keep going closer to God, you will keep loving Him more, you will keep understanding that He loves you more, and then when you have this personal connection, it's like you're in love with someone. You don't wait the anniversary to show to this person that you're in love with them. It's a daily thing. It's something that happens every single second. It's in your blood after that.
I understand.
Thank you for coming here today, George.
Thank you for having me.
This home inside my heart, and it tore me all apart, and my soul is lost. All hope it could ever be whole again. So I scream, someone help me become somebody that I can bear to see, step back and be.